Hi, my name is Fabian Kidani. I use the pronoun she and they. I'm a trumpet player residing on the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh lands, also known as Vancouver. Born and raised in the greater Vancouver area my whole life. I dedicate my music primarily to the study of Black American music, also known as jazz, and all of the beautiful goodness that comes with it. So my quartet is playing with me today to celebrate Pride at the Gallery. So it's like a Pride event here at the Vancouver Art Gallery. It's going to be us playing in the rotunda. So we've got amazing reverb going on right now. It sounds so good. I feel like the diversity part of Pride is just now kind of starting to happen. It's always been an issue, especially with the population of Vancouver being so white dominated. Pride was originally, we all know it started as a riot, like it was very DIY. It was started by Black trans folks, and we don't really have Black people here. And those Black trans folks that started Pride were sex workers and poor and homeless at some times. And this city is not very kind to people of that demographic, so it's pretty rare to run into somebody that fits in those categories. There's gotta be something in place to help us preserve culture. Like, my parents immigrated here, so I was born here, and they never taught me my language or my culture very much, aside from like sometimes seeing like the Ethiopian community in Vancouver. I was raised in Langley for a little bit, and like, so a lot of it I had to kind of learn on my own, and with not much help. So like, cultural programs, just a preservation, like something. We kind of need that out here, because that's also how you get people coming in that can not only further that tradition, but can also just like be here, represent, bring the whole lands up, bring it up, it's when people come through, they leave something behind always. They always leave, whether it's a legacy or they touch the life, etc., etc. And if there was something in place that would draw them like bees, they would pollinate it, and more honey, more flowers. Win-win. But, I mean, that's why I play this music. This music is so old, right? Like, jazz is so old. It's a preservation of history in itself. It's the tradition and history of the Black slaves that were taken over here to Turtle Island. And so, that's kind of what we do, too. There also isn't much funding or preservation of that going on, aside from institutions. So, I mean, we gotta fix that. We gotta fight for land back, number one, because nobody knows the story of this land and how corrupt the government is, aside from the Indigenous people. They're most oppressed people in Turtle Island. Like, that's first and foremost, you gotta do that. You gotta fight on the land of the natives, man. But I mean, like, even thinking about like how many like reserves and territories don't have clean water in Canada, the homeless problem here in Vancouver, the opioid drug crisis we've been in since what, like 2015. BC's 95% unseated, and yet the government's still here. Like, there's so don't look anywhere else. I mean, obviously we're gonna hear about what's going on in Ukraine, whatever. Like, we hear what goes on in Tigray, all these horrible things that are happening around the world. But at the same time, like, we have to pay attention to what's going on in our own backyard, or else it's all performative, right? It's like, how could you be so concerned for the U.S. if you don't even look out for the people that live next door? They don't know who you are. You don't know their name. You don't know what their birthday is. You don't know where they're from, their culture. You don't know anything about them, but yet you feel like this overwhelming, I need to fix it because the media tells me all these terrible things happening everywhere else. Well, what if the media told you about all the terrible things that were happening in your own city? Would you care? Because it does. And nobody looks, because it's not as big for people. So take care of your neighbors first before you take care of anyone else. Every time, because I'm Ethiopian, and it's like I'm repping not only Black Canadians, but like Ethio Canadians, Eritrean Canadians. My father's from Eritrea too. It's like, every time they see me go out and play, and they're always like, we're so proud of you, and I like always have a little cry at my house, and I'm just like, oh my God, my community is here and they see me doing this. It pleases me and my ancestors. I don't know how else to put it. It's just like, it's the most warm feeling, because we also don't have many Habesha musicians, Habesha, Ethiopian, Eritrean. We don't have any out here that aren't touring from like Toronto, or I have yet to meet a Habesha person in jazz in the West Coast. I know there's a couple on the East Coast, but there's none here, as far as I know. So I'm trying to set up a legacy for my people. So It feels good. I post all the time on Instagram at the Habeshaman about all my gigs, and And I post a gig list every month. I add extra things if I get asked to do more, but I'm around. You can find me, but I swear to God, I'll get some recordings. Don't worry. Expect music. I hope.